I don't know.
You didn't say hey.
I don't like to say hey.
Welcome to the Download Youth Ministry Web Show. My name is Josh. This is my friend Matt.
Wait a minute. I'm the one. I prepped the show.
This is my friend Katie.
No.
And
what's happening
this
here?
is episode
You're stealing the show.
226. No.
You spent no time
227?
prepping. You
were
totally foisted it.
You were hemming and hawing. Now you can take it.
Oh.
I was getting it started. I had to push the car.
Okay. Obviously, some things are a little bit different today, right? What's different? Katie?
No Doug Fields.
No Doug Fields. Except for somebody sitting in his seat.
I didn't realize how tall this seat was compared to the other
Yeah.
seats.
Obviously, you've never played sports.
He's just
before.
looking
Did you ever
down
play
at his
sports?
I'm just looking down at my vast youth ministry empire. This is a good chair to sit in. I kind of like it.
Oh. Look, here's the deal. You don't change things. This
You want me to go
always
back
Doug's
over there?
seat. Well,
All right,
you don't
I'll go
have
back
to.
over.
I'm just saying is that
No,
you're
it's
cursing
okay.
the show.
I see how it
You
is.
see? Okay, that's good.
I'll just move over.
We'll just wait for you to
No,
make
keep
things
talking.
happen.
Tell everybody where Doug is today.
I have absolutely no idea where Doug is today, actually, to tell you the truth. Is he on vacation? Is he speaking somewhere? Is he...
I don't know.
He can't be... The whole show is falling apart without Douglas.
Without Doug, we don't know what to do.
Just let it fall. It's okay.
It's
He would
okay.
probably be
pretend
happy
like
to
it's
know
not happening.
that we were falling apart without him.
He would. It would make him... So,
You know what?
Here we
You know
go.
what? The
This is what you
team,
do.
the team
That's how you take care of that.
will empathize. with
What we're
us.
trying to say is,
This is like a normal
Where
youth
is Doug
ministry
right now?
program. where
we'll
things fall
see you
apart.
guys next week when Doug's back.
No, we can
You
do
have
this.
no idea where Doug is.
No, I think he's at Homeward for an annual board meeting.
Oh, that's right.
Because he texted me a little while ago and said something, and I was like, why
But
are
out of
you
town,
here?
or is it just...
No, it's like right down the street.
Oh, that's funny. So why did we decide to do it today? Why didn't we do it tomorrow or whatever? You're gone tomorrow.
I'm gone tomorrow.
You're gone tomorrow.
And then I'm
Excellent.
gone next week.
Beautiful.
All right, more
let's
than
get
you
started.
ever wanted to know. Here we go.
No, it's important to
Enough
know-
playful banter.
We like to keep tabs on people. Know what's
Yeah.
happening.
We'll
Would you
and
like
each
some of
other.
this?
Can I have my drink back?
you
It's
can't.
so far away.
As suffering for sitting in the wrong seat.
Thank you.
Katie.
That's a good friend right there.
Can't stand between a man and his beverage.
Well, I think you can. But there you go. Okay, so we have lots of questions.
Okay.
I have prepped
I
them.
noticed that you have nothing on paper.
They are all digitally organized.
It's from the future. It's from the
Do you feel
Microsoft
like
Surface.
this is how it should be? Like you're doing
I
it
feel like
how...
everybody should be comfortable with the way that they do things. And
AKA Doug with paper.
Doug with paper. That's right. That's
You
right.
really think that?
I don't know. I mean, look, I've tried for so many years to try and get Doug to digitize that it's just, I've given up hope.
Do you remember the one time
So-
that you went all the way over to his house to fix his printer and it wasn't plugged in?
I actually wish I did go over to his house. I didn't go over to his house. I spent an hour and 20 minutes on the phone with him, starting at 11 o'clock at night, ending at 12:20. The very first thing I said is it plugged in? So then we troubleshoot things for an hour. All the time I'm saying, dude, just let me drive over there. Just let me drive over there. And then finally, at the end, he's like, hey, it started printing. And I go, why? It shouldn't have. What you just did not fix the printer. And he's like, well, I just plugged it in. It was,
So Fields with paper, it's just going to be that way.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
He is a creature of habit.
he is a youth ministry dinosaur. And it's hard to... No, don't say that.
Well, we are recording this show.
Not.
He's not a dinosaur?
No.
He's an office supply dinosaur.
True.
He's a digital dinosaur.
He's
There
a
it
digital
is.
dinosaur.
All right, question.
Okay, starting off with this. This might be the hardest question. Maybe I should have moved this towards
Yeah.
the end.
Give
called-
us something light.
It's called prepping the show.
No, I prepped it all right, and I like
You
to
just
do
wanted
things.
to work our way backwards.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
I just
Late?
wanted to see how mentally tough you are because you guys are both
All
a little
right,
late.
bring it.
So,
Bring it.
okay, this is from Nicole Jones.
Please don't use
Student
my name.
pastor from Please Don't Use My name. Southern Hills Christian Church. I have no idea where the Southern Hills are.
Please don't use
There
my
you go.
church.
Our youth group is attracting more and more students who are questioning their sexual orientation. And honestly, I'm not educated enough to on the subject to answer their questions. Do you know any resources that presents a biblical worldview and is written for teens specifically? And then basically there's other things, but that's basically what
That's
she
a
said.
really
It's
good
a great
question.
question.
That's a great question. I feel like every youth pastor is maybe asking these questions and
Yeah.
wrestling through what this looks like. I actually was at we were at the Youth Specialties Conference this last weekend here in San Diego, and Jim Burns taught a workshop on sexuality.
Cool.
And so Homeward, actually homeward.com, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
He has a lot of great notes, things for parents and things for youth workers, which I felt like I was writing notes down like crazy. So that would be a great resource for you.
Well, and I think if you can look for a few things to Google, like ministering to gay teenagers or...
And you know, it's so funny that you say that, because the last thing that I decided to skip in her email, which I should have read, obviously knew it is, I know I could do a Google search and find a plethora of articles, but I wanted to check and see if you knew something that was reliable, well-rounded.
There you go. Well, that's one.
Jim Burns.
I think it's interesting because there's not a ton of great resources about this subject. This is a sensitive subject. I think people want to be careful not to be defined by it. You know, even having an open and honest conversation about it can mark a conference or a person as having like this platform that they don't even want to have.
Because you said this one time. Totally, yeah. Well, we've been dealing with it a little bit with like volunteers and students as well. And one of the things that we've kind of made an effort to do is even talk to our leadership about, hey, what is our church? What are we saying as a whole? And how are we communicating not just to teenagers, but adults as well? It's not a teenage issue. And so talking to some of your church leadership as well and making it a conversation that the whole body is having. Because I think that's important.
No, I agree. There's a resource from Simply Youth Ministry called Ministering to Gay Teenagers.
Oh, really?
Would be, It's like a little ebook. It's a couple bucks.
It's good.
It would be a...
It is good. It's one guy's story.
Yeah.
And it starts with his story.
Story is really driving me crazy.
Sorry. No. It's the author,
his journey,
a lot of his journey,
How about that?
and just what has come out of that. So I think it's a great resource.
I went through it.
Part.
I went through it with one of our leaders who happened to be struggling as well, and it was helpful for us. So that would be an idea, at least.
Yeah. It seems like, I mean, we make jokes about, or I make jokes about Doug being the dinosaur, but I mean, we've now all been in youth ministry for 15, 20 years, and it does seem like there's more resources coming out that's helping the church kind of deal with this. There's a guy at our church, he's not specific to teens, but goes and just speaks at different churches and deals head on with the topic of homosexuality and how does the church respond. And I think at least most of us would agree that the church has done a really bad job, of being very judgmental and stuff like that. But as far as actual specific
we've done a very
resources,
good job of being judgmental.
Yes,
I'm quite gifted in being judgmental.
We are all have the spiritual gift of judgmentalism. No, but even when you teach or you talk about it and you come out with a grace standpoint. I mean, not where you're trying to say things are okay and that it's biblical and stuff like that, to practice that lifestyle. Even when you come out with just a grace approach, where you lead with that or you end with that, you're still going to get some parents that are going to be, they're not going to hear that, and it's just so difficult, but
it is.
I think the parent piece is part of this as well. I was having a conversation this week about just talking about sexuality in general in our whole church body. It's funny, like how some of our leadership would say, the teenagers really need to be educated on this. They need to learn. We need to be teaching this. But again, bringing it back to, how do we equip parents to talk about these things with their teenagers? And how do we open the lines of communication between parents and students? And again, how does you don't stop having issues with sexuality when you turn 18 and leave our youth ministry. There are still tons of adults that are struggling with all sorts of things within the cloud of sexuality or the bubble of sexuality. So how do we as a whole church be talking about stuff?
Well, I think if a youth worker out there can be prepared for this conversation before they're hit with it, I think that might be a wise place to be in. So I think a lot of youth workers in the country haven't dealt with this in a significant way yet. And I would say this issue is coming to your ministry, to your church, to your volunteers for sure. Others are in the thick of it right now. And I would say we're having the most frequent conversations I've ever had about same-sex attraction with students and with leaders. I actually had another one last night I haven't had a chance to talk to you about yet.
The last year we've probably had almost a weekly one of us.
Something
with something weekly.
It's literally at the forefront of our ministry. So if it's not at the forefront of yours, I would say prepare now. Grab some resources, read up.
So some of the sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're fine.
I was going to try and do a little wrap up.
Yeah, do it.
I don't know if that's rude or not, but we're just
wrap
going to
up.
move forward.
Homeward is
So,
a good resource.
Homeward is a good
when you're coming from the angle of equipping parents and just opening the conversation of sexuality.
Right.
And there's some good stuff. Jim has some great stuff with that.
Jim's
Also.
solid, and then there's a resource, an ebook from Simply Youth
Yeah,
Ministry
called
that's pretty
Ministering
good.
to Gay Teenagers.
There's a guy in our church that he is a pastor. He's not a pastor on our church staff. His name's Joe Dallas, joedallas.com. That he goes speaks, and he's got some resources. It's not youth ministry specific, so that might not be helpful to you.
No, that's
great
not good.
question. That
a
actually
great
might be
question.
something that we should put on the website and say, hey, do you have
Oh,
any
yes.
resources?
Yeah, that's
so
a great idea.
we should do that. So I'm just going to use my little
Or
keyboard
even
here.
like scenarios.
Can you forward it to me? And say
maybe.
put it on the blog?
Maybe I could do that.
See
It
the
just
power of the
depends.
digital show right here.
That's right. I didn't even have to scratch it. It's already done.
I love it.
Well, speaking of the blog, the next question has to do
How are
with
you
that.
Xing it
Okay.
out like Doug does? Like, answered.
I can't
Just
really
delete
tell you my system. It's kind of a patented thing. I'm going to do a seminar
Totally.
for it. Sell it to you. Just curious. This is by our good buddy Jerry Varner.
Yes, I like
right.
Jerry. He's a
He's
good
so
guy.
faithful.
Just curious, but is the questions for the community section no longer on the website now that the switch is complete? Away from the garage over to DYM. So, two things I thought I'd say or ask. Griff, what was the questions for the community?
Yep.
And when are you going to get that back up there?
Great question. Questions for the community were when we took a question that was kicked into the show and we moved it to the Youth Ministry Garage blog where people would comment and give their answers to it. So it's kind of
stuff we
Is
couldn't
that what we
answer.
just did? Did we just kick it to the community?
Yes,
we will. We will.
Got you,
See,
got you.
So
see
well
how that-
done.
See how that works?
Well,
there?
nice
cohesive.
I've got
segue.
a whole
You feel this
thread
hosting right
just-
here?
just happening here.
Wow. Well, here's what
job.
I would know. Here's what I know. We've done like 25 of those over the course of the last 100 episodes or whatever. And
Now I got to do it.
yeah, there you go. High five. Good high five. You just ignore people who give wow.
smokes.
Old.
That happened like
They don't
9
know what
times
you're
our
talking
last
about.
show.
She's so
They
callous.
don't know what you're talking about.
Here's the thing. Those will be imported very soon. We had to get them off of the old blog, and
Right.
now we'll import those into the YMG, off of the YMG into the DYM web show.
So
They're
much
coming
jargon.
soon.
There's
They're
a
coming
lot
soon.
of jargon happening right now.
They're coming
Yep,
soon.
yep, yep,
How
yep.
about
Wah,
that?
wah, wah.
In
It's
our
coming
last
soon.
show,
Wah,
there was at
wah,
least
wah.
6 times that Griff went for a high five, and Katie would have nothing to do with it. And so it was just quite.
You
I would
can't-
say I would be like right here.
Yeah.
You can't high five someone unless there's eye contact.
Well,
You
it
cannot.
seems
If
like
I'm
about the no-look
turned
high
this
five?
way, you can't.
no look.
Eye contact is key to a good high five.
Okay.
Okay, here's
what
the
do
next
you got?
question. We
Question
ready?
number 3.
So that was good, right? Did we get
Yeah.
that? When is it going to be back up? Pretty soon.
Yeah,
That's
by the
what it
time
is?
you get this show up, it will
Yeah,
be done.
because we'd like to. By the time I get, I don't get the shows up, so you can't rip on me for that anymore.
You're right. By the time Parker, executive producer
Let no
Parker,
unwholesome word come from your mouth. What's happening there?
by the time producer Parker, who was left uncredited in episode 225 during our live show due to Matt McGill, excluding him from the credits.
I don't know about that. Okay, here's the next question. This is John. I don't even know how to say John's last name. Batch?
Kevorkian.
Botch? John Bach?
Yep.
You know what I'm talking
That's
about?
the one. John.
Yeah.
John B.
Yeah, John B. That works good. But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That was
gave
kind
me
of
a
a fake.
Starbucks
That was
card
kind of
one
a
time.
fake, yeah, but now you got
No,
it.
he gave
Hey,
me a Starbucks
all.
card one time. He's a nice guy.
Please don't interrupt. Hey. I can't even say that with a straight
Oh,
face.
wow.
Hey, y'all. I am a DYM member. Sorry you got
Eye
downsized,
contact.
Matt, which was great.
Sorry, you got downsized.
Thanks for all you do, Katie. Griff, get me a free shirt. We have history. Get it done. So that's just a
Done and
request.
done.
Like,
Wow.
He
doesn't-
really
Kinda
wants a
bossy.
red shirt. And I'm like,
Interestingly-
I only make like white shirts, gray. He wants a red shirt.
Red's a pretty bold statement.
So
In
bold.
youth ministry, we usually don't go that
no.
bold.
Like we have Dallas Youth Ministry shirts now. They're black. I like those too. They look
This
really
is
good. But
officially the dumbest thing we've ever talked about.
Shush.
fine.
Just
Really,
kidding.
the dumbest thing you've ever talked about? Come on.
as a
I feel like the bar is pretty low for them to go.
Shirt color? I mean, what is this? Pinterest?
Please.
Here's his question.
Welcome back to the Pinterest podcast.
Interestingly, in his little greeting, he does not mention Doug, and this is the week that Doug's not here. So
Wow.
I don't really know what's happening.
John was a
Stars
prophet.
are
Probably
clearly
everything else is
aligned.
for Doug that he's about to
Actually,
say.
Here's my question, Doug.
Doug.
So here is his question. We all change and design our student spaces from time to time. Of course, all is pretty subjective because it's not like all of us have
I
them.
even have student spaces
Yeah.
or a job.
Yeah. I was agreeing with you. I don't know what I was saying there.
Keep
Just in
going,
case you
buddy.
couldn't hear the first
Keep
one.
Motor
going.
through it, host.
You're doing great.
He says you all just moved into a new space, which you could tell by how
You've done a very effective job.
horrible it
Feels
looks. He's like, can you share with the nation, I'm not really sure what the nation is, some practical tips in designing, setting up your space. Thanks for all you do, John Batch.
That's great.
Bach. But the idea is, if you have some space, what
Yeah.
are some things you think about when it comes to your space? Whether, I mean, for seems like 100 years, we were in these crappy portables that had rats and smelled, and it was Saddleback, but they didn't have buildings, and so I mean, there's a degree of, everybody, most of us have some kind of space.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
And we've moved from space to space, so thinking
yeah.
like how to be portable, and which
Totally.
I know a lot of youth ministries are like, I have all my stuff in a box that I have to
Yep.
bring with me everywhere I go.
Carried in, wheel it in, whatever, yeah.
I always think the entrance is important,
Yeah.
just where students are, where the entry point is to your ministry, even if the entrance is grand, but the rest is maybe not so great. I think that's okay
Right.
too,
It
just
matters,
because
yeah.
that's what a lot of parents are seeing. A lot of students who are kind of questioning, should I go in, should I not
Yeah.
go in? Just having a warm kind of entry point that
How important is a balloon arch?
I would say it's maybe low on the priority
Oh,
list.
okay.
I think balloons are
We all
attractive.
have different
but-
opinions.
Yes, true. But I think, clear signage and, so they kind of, there's, identity with your ministry, and they know that they're walking into something that's
Yep.
for them, and warm faces. I think, not tons of greeters. I think
Yeah, too many greeters.
too many
is-
greeters can be intimidating,
Echo tunnel.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think, yeah. go
No,
ahead.
for me, I think a
Please
student
don't cut-
area.
Katie's not
she
done.
No, I'm
was
done.
she was ready to segue.
Okay.
I
I
was
was
ready.
wrapping it up for her.
Just trying to.
I like
Air traffic
pictures.
controller.
I like pictures. I like people walking in and going, "Wow, look at these great pictures of summer camp. Look at these great pictures of the fun that they have together." I'm just a big fan of that, and I think these days with Target and Walgreens, whatever, you can just print
them
right
out
from your
pretty
phone, jam, and update them every week, even if you wanted to.
Yep.
I think keeping regular, current, fresh pictures is a big deal. What if a visitor who came a month ago, they come back a second
And they see the
time
pic.
and they see their picture on the wall? That's
Yep.
a fun
Yeah,
way of
that's
doing
cool.
it too. You could
I
do
still.
candid pictures on the wall, or you could even do pictures of just like almost like mug shots in a way, but you could have fun with that. But that way you could learn people's names as well,
Yeah.
and I think give yourself a little identity, saying these are our people. I think it's fun.
Yeah, sorry. Really? I mean, I'm sure I'll interrupt and I won't be sorry. But that
Another
one
idea
particular
would
time-
be
But I still remember when I was in high school, it had Polaroids. I mean, when there was no digital photography happening.
Polaroids are these instant print pictures
Yeah.
that used to be here on.
Yep.
I love Polaroids.
And
making
too
a
bad
comeback.
they went out of business. But above the top, it had pictures just like you described. But above the top, it said original masterpiece, and I just thought it was a cool like message every week that everybody here is an original.
I love
masterpiece.
that.
It's awesome. Where's that found in the Bible?
I just totally blanked.
Just blank the discipleship guy.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking.
I'm going to say Ephesians 2.
Yeah, that's great.
For we are his workmanship. Maybe 1.
Created
Ephesians
for
1.
Yeah. Created. We are His work.
We are his masterpiece. All right,
Created
cool.
for good works, which He prepared for us in advance.
I like the idea
There
of
you go.
concentrating on the entrance too. That's a really good. It's a good word.
I think because even for us, I mean, we actually are real blessed with a really cool space, but it's
Right.
not ours all
Yeah, you share it.
24/7, so we share it. So we're the inside of our room. Unfortunately, has to be somewhat generic, as
Yep.
that
Yeah.
we have some stuff that we can keep out. So really, the place
Yep.
that we can be the most creative is some of our entry stuff,
Yeah.
and
I think that's good.
But I think warmth.
Yeah.
If
Warmth,
you're
totally.
meeting, we're in a room right now with 4 white walls and.
Cold. It's called
It is cold, and
Yeah.
even if you don't have a permanent space, how could you warm up the space? Whether that's adding some color or curtains,
having
pictures.
a backdrop for your show, Parker, that
Yeah.
would be cool. Lots of options.
If you have a parent in your ministry, we have a parent right now who is an interior designer, and so she came in and gave us a lot of tips for it's her business. So
Yeah.
she gave us some
Wow,
tips
that's
of like,
cool.
here's how you could warm this space up. And so someone
Cool.
who's kind of an expert at spaces, I don't know if you have somebody like that in your church, they could be helpful.
Love it. Cool.
I would only add, I love the warmth in a place where people can hang and be comfortable in conversations. I would say clean, which is very ironic coming from a person, if you saw my car.
Or your hair when you walked in.
Dude, my hair says it's raining
Better
outside,
now.
so there you go.
Yeah, it rained today.
But I think that's important because people they judge you by what they see, and most of us are total slobs, and our rooms shouldn't look like
I had
that.
a
So, there you
conversation
go.
with a volunteer this morning about perception being reality, and that's a great point about our youth room too. If somebody walks by and sees it looking crappy, they assume that the youth ministry is that way too. So yeah, keep it clean, keep it classy, San Diego.
Keep it classy. Speaking of San Diego, what in the scarlet thread is happening here?
Scarlet Thread.
No, what am I thinking of? Not
Rahab
Scarlet
and the
Thread.
Scarlet Letter merged into one.
No,
Keep
no, no.
going. Let's keep
Anyhow,
going.
I'm thinking
Focus.
something. It'll come to me. Hi, Katie. Of course, you're first. Josh, Doug, and bringing up the rear, Matt.
First
this
and
is-
second. Hey,
That's right. That's really good. Watch it.
First and second.
I'll just point every time. Anyhow, hi, Katie, Josh, Doug, and Matt. I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming down to San Diego last week.
Oh,
Some
That was
few
a nice
other
segue.
things. I was super excited to catch you guys this year. I had a great time. I enjoyed some Union Made pizza, which is a little bit of an insider joke. Got
that
a
pizza was
swag bag.
terrible.
Swag bag
Cool.
for being a faithful rewinder, and took home the iPad Mini.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is
So
this
this
Jessica Alba?
Yes, and she actually signed it with Jessica Abadallah, which I can't say it either. There's no L there at the end. But she said, not Alba. Aldaba.
I saw her name on the little prize
I
list. I
see
was like,
Jessica,
Alba.
I see Aldaba, but I'm probably emphasizing that wrong.
I loved her
Aldaba?
genuine enthusiasm
Aldaba.
for winning.
Yeah, well, and then listen to this. I thought this was pretty cool. And this is going to round up into a question that I got for you guys. So
Okay.
believe it or
wow.
not, we will land it.
Okay.
The iPad Mini is cool. Of course, new ones are getting announced later this month.
They announce new ones the day after we give her an iPad Mini.
No, it's the day
Sorry.
after. They come out the day of the new Surface, which I'm very excited for. About that.
Keep it rolling. Here
Keep
we
it
go.
rolling. Katie, do you know what the Surface is?
Nope.
It's right in front of you. There you go.
I'm okay not knowing.
No, it's totally. I just was wondering. The iPad Mini is cool, and don't get me wrong, I'm super grateful, but I was more excited about winning some of the books in my Rewinder bag. It just shows you the depth that she has. There you go. Okay, so what did you like doing? What did you like about doing the live show?
Oh, that's a question.
That's my question.
Oh, there it is. All right. I'm just shooting the breeze here. I didn't know we
I
were
don't know.
actually.
Oh, I mean, every once in a while, Doug will just
No,
read a
totally.
question where all they do is say, thank you, and I feel
know,
like,
so
oh,
sweet.
that's lame.
So
I mean, it's
live
nice that they
show-
would say that,
Yeah.
dumb that we would read that. I just feel self-promoting. So I'm going to try to shift the
No.
self-promotingness to, what did you like about the show?
Fair enough.
It's nice to hear that people love it. The live show, I'm so anxious through the whole time.
Yeah.
So you love the anxiousness?
I just get I get so nervous because we're in this room. It's just us talking to each
Right,
other. But
us.
then I feel like
5,000
we need to say great
podcast
things
reps.
in front of
know.
all these people, and I just
Well,
feel like I'm not good thinking on the spot.
And the pressure to make people laugh. Because here, if we think something funny, we're just
We just
laughing.
laugh.
Right.
But when you get, in this case, we had 200 people sitting
Yeah.
6 feet away, and if they're like, that's a hard thing to do. But
Well, I
And
was
there's
trying-
a lot
so
of reminiscing.
You guys
Yeah.
were
Which is
talking
great.
about how difficult it was. I was trying to keep it positive. I don't know if
Yeah.
you realize.
Well,
I
the
like
best
to look
part
on the
is
positive
seeing
side.
faces, like
Seeing
people
people.
that have written in, and
Yeah.
then you meet them in person. Like
Right,
that's
right.
so fun because you just feel like we're connected.
yes.
So that's the
Well, and
best.
I love people that they do know stuff about your life, and they're like, "Oh, I watched this shoe, and when you answered this, it was so
Yeah.
helpful."
Totally.
Or they have an inside joke where they're like, "Hey, I remember when you used to lay on the prayer request," and some guy right behind him is like, "What are they talking about?" But we have a
Totally.
relationship, even though I've never met them. That's
Yeah.
a fun moment too.
I
so.
love all the giveaways too. We gave away so much
Yeah.
stuff.
Totally.
Which I think most people in that room, won something.
Yeah, we had piles
or-
of stuff.
That was so. I was like, this
was
is
fun.
so fun. It's like Christmas. Everybody's
Yeah.
winning a prize. It was,
was
cool.
great.
Yep.
So and the free download thing was cool.
Yeah. We
for
gave
coming.
everybody Instahack just
A
for
DYM
showing up.
thing, yeah. It was cool.
We should have just passed them out as they walked in because it takes so much time to give those things away.
I agree.
I know, but it was
Yeah.
fun still. The
Yeah, it was
joy,
fun.
the joy of tossing
Okay, what
something
did you
in
like?
someone's face.
No, I was just agreeing with all that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good. What do I like about
Yeah,
it?
what was your favorite part? Did you have a moment?
I mean, to me, this thing is very ridiculous and absurd. I can't believe that like 3 people even would listen to this show. So it's just still
It might be all we have
astounding.
left if we don't fix iTunes.
Seriously. Hey, well, you want to talk about that?
No,
How
it's
was
coming.
that?
It's coming. It's coming.
How was the conversation to get that all figured out? I like the energy because the energy is different. I mean,
Yeah.
here it's obviously, I mean, Parker is a veritable dynamo
Yeah.
of energy.
I'm feeling his energy
contained.
right now as he updates
But
the Download
other
Ministry
than that,
website.
I mean, it's just fun to be in a room full of people and everyone's talking and you could,
Yeah, there's just a
gab
cool camaraderie.
back and forth.
Yes.
I'm not sure there's camaraderie. I think you have to be in a battle for that to happen, but it's
The
pretty
Battle
good.
of Youth Ministry, duh.
Yeah, we're all fighting the good fight.
Gotcha.
Wow, look, you seem to figure that one out
Yeah,
okay.
I was
That is-
looking right at him.
Okay, this is the next question. Dear Doug, this is only for Doug.
Wow.
So
Let's see what we can
I
do.
don't
Let's do
know.
our
Let's
best. What we
see.
think Doug would say. in
Okay,
response.
this segment is called What Would Doug Say? Here we go.
WWJD. Wait a minute.
DS.
WWDD. I don't know.
What would Doug do?
Dear Doug, I am the coordinator for the junior high and the high school Sunday school classes at our church.
To which he would say,
I'm still reading.
Yeah, keep going. He wouldn't say anything because he never interrupts.
oh,
he
you're
doesn't
right.
rep-
I was playing Matt in that segment.
I am trying to find a webinar or online course / lecture that I can purchase that speaks to coaching Sunday school teachers for teenagers in that group to improve on this critical aspect. I have browsed through several websites where you are listed, such as Simple Youth Ministry, and your blog, but couldn't find any. Do you have a resource that could point me to, or you could point me to where I can get one? Best regards, George Tadros, which you and I know him as George, but his patients would know him as Dr. Tadros because he is a MD, an MS, and an FACC, which I don't even know what that is, but it's interventional.
Either. Wow.
Well, it sounds like we might want to be friends with this guy because it's interventional cardiology. So I wonder if that's
You
helping
definitely need to be
well,
friends with
yeah,
him.
so I don't know. So many of those.
He's a
Italian
doctor,
sausages.
a nurse, and a
So
fact.
George.
I don't even know what that is.
I know. MS is nurse?
I made that up.
Oh.
Masters of Science, I'm going to say.
I don't know, but this guy is obviously very intelligent. In the
Well,
ways of
cardiologist, it's always good
It's
for.
good that you're smart.
art.
Yeah,
Yeah, you don't want somebody in there.
feel like
is
those
that
are
the
good.
aorta?
Feels like I'm definitely
Or-
looking for someone who
That's good.
graduated. Yep.
Okay, so can we point him in directions for some Sunday school? I mean, it's teaching. Training, leadership development.
Yeah, I'll start. I mean, I think Fields does speaking to teenagers seminars all around the country, and that would be an option to help people be better communicators,
get
better
that online?
speakers. I don't think you can.
I don't think so either.
You could buy the book,
The book
Speaking to
is good.
Teenagers. And what I would do with that, because the book is honestly a little bit heavy for a common Sunday school teacher, I feel like to read
You lower the bar.
250 pages for how to speak to teenagers, I think that's unrealistic.
Probably flip through it.
This is what I'm saying. I'm saying go through a chapter or two, come
Yeah.
up with some helpful tips, summaries.
Right,
you
right.
reteach their stuff. I think that would be
Yeah,
helpful.
call it yours.
Yeah, pretend it's yours. No one will ever know the difference.
He seems kind of like an academic guy. Would the youth sphere be helpful to him?
think-
or
I just don't know how much practical stuff on teaching
Yeah.
there is.
Specifically. So youthsphere.com would be worth checking
You
out.
should definitely investigate
because
that.
there might be some
Yeah.
sessions there that would be.
And I would say, download youthministry.com. We have a training category where we're adding more stuff all the time. And even as part of our membership, there is a training video that's included every month. I would assume that very soon we would get to some topics that would be very helpful
Yeah.
for Sunday school
Yeah.
teachers as well.
is he saying just teaching or just leading in general?
No, well, he's saying Sunday school teachers, and so Sunday school volunteers, which I imagine, I mean, it looks different at every church,
Sure.
and so some combination of teaching / small group leading,
Yeah.
facilitating, but it also
Sunday
it
school
does.
is kind of a misleading term, I think, because
It
there are
depends on
some
what
Sunday,
Sunday
school
school-
programs that are all small groups or all,
Yeah,
Right.
they're all relational or they're all
lecture
lecture,
format,
so it
type.
kind of depends on what you're. But it looks like, I mean, I'm just going to the, he's looking to increase the teaching skills of his people, which,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would say just try to track down a seminar or workshop, whatever, that's coming through your area. Like I remember going a long time ago to an Awana regional event. Awana is like a Bible curriculum or whatever. And they had some great seminars just
Yeah.
at this little regional event from there were just 10 churches in the area. We were all together that were so helpful. Or what if you even just found someone in your church who is a good speaker or really does a
Yeah.
great job with small groups and said, hey, could you put together a 5-minute video or a 20-minute workshop and help us all be a little bit better? There's got to be somebody in your church or organization that is better
Right.
or awesome. And I'd say tap them on the shoulder and see if you could have them help out.
I would say the two things that I would add to this is one, to just raise the awareness of just to ask the question of your leaders, hey, what are you learning? What are you learning about teaching? What are you learning about running your group? What is God doing in you that's different? Like just asking that question and getting people to think about it. Maybe it's a once a month, email and says, hey, email me back 1 or 2 things that you learned this month. I mean, not that email is the answer, because it's not, but it's just a way. So that was one thing I would say, is that you could ask some questions and just how can you guys, as a leadership team, teach one another? That's really the best way to learn anyhow. I mean, unless you're a heart surgeon, then you should probably learn before you get started. But in every other thing, you
Learning
learn by
as you
doing.
go.
Yeah.
Well, that's a heart. Now what?
They do call it a practice. But the second thing I would say is, for you, you're the leader of this thing, the coordinator, George, and what you obviously have a critical, and I mean this in a positive way, a critical eye to see things. What you see happening that is no good, hey, you're no good. Don't point this guy out at whoever it is that's doing a bad job. But take that and think about it and go, okay, well, what is the right way to do that? And then turn that into something yourself. And so you could do some of the training based on what you are seeing and what you are experiencing. And the other is true too. If you see somebody do something that's awesome, capture that. I think training is really important, and I really think that part of that is you want it to be ongoing. You want to have an orientation process that's probably a little bit heavy on the front end, where you get some people that are ready to go. But as people are serving in ministry year in, year out, you want to have some ongoing things. And I think with that, you also want to create this attitude of, how can I learn on my own?
Yeah.
That's what I got.
That's good.
That's
Should I
good.
move to the next
That's
one?
really good.
I like it. Do it.
Okay.
Can I just add one teeny tiny thing to that?
Okay.
You can add several things to that.
No, just one thing. I just want to say, I think continue to understand your audience too. That just because they're in a structure, I think it's important to understand where middle schoolers are at, where high schoolers are at, kind of just understanding who they are, who's sitting in your Sunday school class, because I think that really shapes the way that you teach.
Yeah.
So, taking time not only to be a great teacher, but I think how is your audience going to receive what you're teaching? And I think part of being a great teacher is knowing who your crowd is really well. So
Yeah.
I think that's
love it.
huge. So, understanding where middle schoolers are at, understanding high schoolers,
Yep.
I think that's a big part of it.
I'm down.
Cool. Well, we wanted to do a shorter show, right? Didn't we?
Love it.
Didn't we say
Yeah.
that before?
Yeah.
What are we at right now? What's the
This
minute
is-
age?
I don't know.
How long have we got?
I'm
over
going to
there?
say 33.
I'm going to say 27.
I had no idea.
Oh,
well,
producer Parker
producer
over there has
Parker
done a
over there.
fantastic
His
job of
energy
the
is
show.
So I'm going to end on just a total softball question.
Okay.
This is great. This is real easy. You think
Yeah.
I'm joking, but I'm serious.
You really have prepped the show backwards.
You think is softball? I'm just curious.
I guarantee you, if you don't think this is a softball question, I'll give you $100.
Oh, I'm totally in on that.
No,
No downside for
I
me.
don't trust Griff's ability to tell me the truth on whether or not he thinks it's softball, but I trust you
You
completely.
I
trust
will tell you
Katie.
the truth.
She's wearing a business suit. She's
I am.
serious
If I give
today.
you $100.
This is not a softball.
Hello, DYM crew, which does not include Doug today. And
Oh,
for which
sorry.
we're all
Minus
set.
one.
Moment of silence. I watched my very first DYM. How great is that?
That's awesome.
The
That's
training?
Totally cool. No, just the first.
the show.
Oh,
First
this.
show? Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure. They just said
My
DYM.
first DYM.
The first DYM
Ta-da!
experience.
Let's assume that it's this show and continue.
Okay, that's
Okay.
good. That's good. Very cool. Practical. That's good. I like that.
All right.
that
Near
us?
the end.
Is this a softball? Because I'm looking for my $100.
Totally. Oh, this was a podcast based on the context.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah,
can
yeah.
tell it's a podcast. Near the end, you guys were talking about the father-son stuff, sexuality, peer pressure. That was it.
Yeah.
One of you said that you had taken your number 2 on a father-son trip.
The best.
That was you. So
Yeah.
be ready to talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Just a
Happy
couple
to.
sentences, not too much. Because we don't want to go really long.
Yeah. Katie's got stuff to do.
Katie's got stuff to do. Another one of you said that you read your son's Jim Burns book. Which book? I would totally do a father-son trip, except I'm the mother. That's great.
I love it.
I thought that was great.
Mother-son trip would be awesome.
So
though,
softball question, right? Softball question. What did you do on your trip?
We used, it wasn't made by Focus on the Family, but James Dobson, did a series of audio cassettes that have now been moved onto CD called Preparing for Adolescence.
Good.
I mean, they are old
Wait a
school.
minute, James Dobson or Jim Dobson?
Same guy, right? Isn't it the same
No,
dude?
his son.
Oh, the older guy. The guy who would be on a cassette.
starter.
That guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did Preparing for Adolescence,
Pink.
and they are fantastic.
That's great.
They require just a little bit of translation. Like at one point, he references an obscure comedian, like
Jim Gaffigan.
no, Rodney Dangerfield,
Right.
and I'm like, wow, my son has no idea who that is.
Sure.
So, but a couple times he mentions the word, as flip over the tape, and on the other side, and I'm like, oh my goodness, these are so old. But the content is so
Yeah.
good. There's a workbook that's very contemporary. It's like a companion or
Yeah.
whatever. Plus, to be honest, it's not really about those CDs. It's about the conversations and content. Tons of the Bible and tons of just great wisdom
Yeah.
from raising kids. I actually this is a crazy story. I get to introduce Dr. Dobson at an event I'm going to next week.
Cool.
So
awesome.
I'm
You
really
better
excited
find out if
to
it's Jim
tell
or
him.
James.
I do need to figure that out. But I get to tell him this story that I just finished a trip with my son. It was unbelievable. We did all the sports and go-karts and fun, but the richest time was listening to the CD and then the conversation that followed.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about sex, this is a true story. We're talking about whatever, birds and bees and all that stuff, which I don't know.
Why is it birds?
Why do
and
they
bees?
call it birds and bees?
Grown-ups are watching it. I think it's okay.
Yeah, okay, so we're talking about sex, a man and a woman, and he just starts freaking out, like, really? Just like, could
He
not
just totally
believe.
blew his mind.
Just
He was like upside
Really?
down. What
So
is
then,
happening?
we listen a little more, we're talking more, and he goes, so you and mom, 4 times, you've had sex 4 times. And I'm
Oh,
like,
that's beautiful.
yes, we have had sex 4 times, because there's 4 kids, so that's where he's making a connection. And I said, well,
And maybe
a
couple
few
of them
more
will.
than that, a few more.
Or
And then he immediately goes, well, when was the last time? So needless to say, his brain exploded with all sorts of
That's
new
hilarious.
facts and thoughts. But we laughed. It wasn't embarrassing. It was actually. One of my goals in life is to be a great dad, and there are a few moments where I can go, that was a great dad moment. And I would not point to the vast majority of me being a dad that say
a great
that.
dad.
But I was like,
was
this
fun,
is
it
what
was
it's all
good.
about. It's a rite of passage. It's laughter. It's natural. It was all there, and it was good. So. Anyhow, I would highly recommend it. I don't know if a mother-son trip would have the same camaraderie and
There could
dude
be
factor, but something would be
something-
you get
awesome.
camaraderie in a battle.
As long
little
as
show.
someone,
Yes.
mom or dad, is having a conversation.
Have those conversations.
in those rite of passage moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I loved it. And then you didn't. You
So the
said
Jim
you read-
Burns' books were he's got a book for teens called The Purity Code, which I think is great. We
Yeah.
used when we did a sex series with our high school kids. I thought it was really great. And then the one I used for my kids, which were it was a little bit ago, and then they were 11 years old and 12 years old. It's called How God Makes Babies. The book is literally for 6-year-olds through 9-year-olds.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe what was in there. It was great.
'Cause you were
my
like, I
wife
didn't know
was
this when
like,
I was
"What?"
6.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great.
Who
And
wrote
so
it? Is that
it's-
Burns'
they're
book
both
too?
Jim Burns.
Really? I've
Yeah,
never
no,
heard
he
of
has
that
a book that's for 3 to 6-year-olds.
He has a younger one
So,
too.
because he said, he's like, you can start introducing kids to just their sexuality as young as 3. Now, the book's all about God made my body and God made all
Yeah.
the parts of my body and that whole thing. And
Yeah.
then that book
Yeah, this
is the
one's the
next
second
one.
Next level.
And then Purity Code.
is the
So
third.
there's,
Oh,
he has
cool.
kind of a cool process laid
Yeah,
out.
He
And
is
they're-
such a genius.
they're
I have
good.
enormous respect.
Yeah, this
for
should be the
Burns.
Jim Burns show, really.
I was
It
thinking
makes
that we
sense.
started with it. Now here we are
Yeah,
finishing
I
with it as
know.
well.
You should sit in on one of these and answer
You know what?
questions one time.
Yeah,
Be
I
fun
agree.
to have him in here.
Yeah, way better than me sitting here. That's
Well, go to homeward.com, Google Jim Burns, follow Dr. Jim Burns on Twitter. Totally worth it. This is the Jim Burns Show.
It is finally
He's
the Jim Burns
unbelievable.
show.
Just saying,
He is
his
unbelievable.
genius.
Yes.
Love it.
Okay, do we have anything else to say? Any parting thoughts?
226 in the can, and hopefully Fields will be back next week.
Hopefully.
We'll see.
You'll be gone next
Yes,
week.
he will will be.
I will.
I
I'll
bet
be
you won't try and sit in your chair.
I wasn't. I was just trying to start off with a good bit.
Oh, there you go. Okay, goodbye, everybody. We'll see you later. Fun. Katie, any parting words?
Yes, we love you.
Oh, we do. But that's kind of, I mean, we
sorry.
don't really know them.
Well,
Can you love somebody?
but when we see people at the live podcast, we're like so excited to reunite.
Americans use the word love for everything.
I mean it.